Would you mind introducing yourself by stating your name, career, background, and history with the town?
Okay, my name's Chris Wile, running for the Select Board. My career background, I'll not go into where I started years ago, but I'll start when I moved to West Newbury. I was working as a cabinet maker with my own business. I had a barn behind my house where I built furniture and architectural millwork. Eventually, I retired from that. My history in town is extensive, and you'd said we should keep it brief, so if I give all my credentials, it'll take a bit. But I started with Cultural Council. I did Planning Board. I was the chair of that for a couple of years. Within Planning Board, we did the Comprehensive Plan Committee. I started out as the original chair of that, but when I got to be chair of Planning Board, I resigned from chair of that, but I was on the committee still. Then I got onto the committee to rewrite the zoning and subdivision regulations in town. After that, Zoning Board of Appeals, I did School Committee, I did Whittier School Committee. I was on a number of land acquisition committees to acquire the property at Dunsfield up at Pipestave, Cherry Hill on the reservoir, the Craven property up behind the high school. I'm trying to think what other committees. The Whittier School Committee. I was on the committee to hire the superintendent. I was the chair of that. I was on the committee to hire the business manager. Eventually I went on to FinCom and just most recently Select Board. I've been in town 32 years. The better part of 29 years I've been on committees. I did take a couple of years off at one point in between a few of them. And on some of the committees, I'd be on 3 or 4 committees at a time. So total number of years is well in excess of 30 years overall.
My name's Adi Damadia. I moved into West Newbury in 2019, 2020. For work, I work as a surveyor for Boston Survey. And prior to that, I've pretty much worked in architecture, civil engineering, structural engineering, pretty much everything in the construction aspect since basically I was in college. My education is in architecture and engineering for the most part. Yeah, when my wife and I moved here, we found the house in 2019, moved in early 2020, and been living here ever since. 2 kids now. One's in Page School now, so starting to get really involved in the city or the town.
With national politics being so polarizing and affecting everyday life, do you care to share your political affiliations?
Yeah, I mean, I would consider myself more or less a middle of the ground kind of a guy. Growing up, I heard both sides of, the right and the left and everything like that. And I think at the most of the time, if you ask 2 different people and one claims to be on one side and one claims to be on the other side, most of the time I think they agree on most things, I'm a big small government guy. I'm big on just living your life, being able to do what you want to do as long as it's lawful, as long as you're not involving anyone else. You should have the freedom to do whatever you like, whatever you want to celebrate, whatever you want to be. But at the same time, it's, you should respect people's, opinions on how they want to do stuff and how they want to live their lives. That's one of the best parts about, living in this country is that you have that ability to have that freedom to kind of live the way you want to live. And I think a lot of times with, as you said, with polarizing with the politics is I think a lot of times the issues get so washed out that really matter to people, and you only hear extreme sides from both sides. And a lot of people get on that bandwagon and they feel like they have to be affiliated with one side or another. In reality, it should really just be a mix, It should be, I like a little bit from column A, I like a little bit from column B. And then you sit down, you talk, and you figure a middle ground and everything. And, I think I don't really like political parties because you're so, group A or group B, there's no group C. And a lot of times I consider myself more of like, I guess, a libertarian than a Republican or a Democrat. And it's kind of the idea of, when I think of how society should be and everything. And, if you eliminated political parties and you just had people's opinions and you just had 2 candidates go against each other, and whatever you like more about the other person and the ability to compromise, I think, government would work so much more smoother and get more things done that way,
I'm not sure that's pertinent to a local election. I like to separate those in general. And there is a group in town that always looks to find out what affiliation you are. But when you're trying to work on the local level, I don't think that national politics should taint that perspective. my objective is to do what is best for all the residents of West Newbury overall. So I don't bring any national bias into that. And by the way, national politics, I'm middle of the road. So that helps.